culture. This is your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and is joining me is a man that thinks that all the money that the Kickers are making us spend at the tailgate is going toward the future Messi transfer. It's Mr. Matt Myers. How are you doing, sir?
Good. I mean, a good day. Haven't seen the Kickers do anything but not lose in the last 2 days right now. So it's good.
Yeah, it's always good when the Kickers don't lose. Now, when they do lose,
that was 3 days ago. So
yeah,
that's a whole different work week.
It's kind of just passed along. How weird was you? How weird was it for you to watch this game on a Friday at 4 p.m.? Like, did it feel weird?
For me, not that weird. Mostly because I have a sickness, and I'll watch like any random game. So past years that Toronto 4 p.m. Friday time slot, always a good way to kick off the weekend. But random English championship game on a Friday afternoon. Okay, random game, whatever it's on BN at that time that I don't actually care about. Sure, why not? So wasn't that unusual.
This is why I feel like we get along so much, because we both get into like random football so much, and it works. It just works.
Yeah. Can't tell you how much French League I watched this last week, and because it was the only thing on.
Yeah, God. Yeah. Oh man, this whole weekend was a blur after the Kickers lost. I felt like I just didn't want to watch soccer. I was just like,
See, here's the thing: the weekend wasn't ruined because that loss happened before the weekend started. So clean slate weekend.
This is also true. Maybe we should play more on Friday so it doesn't ruin the rest of my Saturday nights. And I'm just sitting there like, I have to rewatch this. But yeah, the Kickers went up to Toronto, lost 2-1. The scoreline itself will make.
Correct. Let me correct you, Elliot. Some of the Kickers went up to Toronto.
You're right. Some of them, Mr. Matt, if you wouldn't mind. Which Kickers does not make the trip? Because I'm pretty sure there's a couple of key members that didn't make this trip.
Yeah, so as everybody might have heard of, there's this thing called COVID going on right now in Canada, technically a different country than the United States. So they just reopened some of their borders for sporting purposes. But the catch here is, I think had to be American citizen or be on certain kind of visa. I don't know the exact rule there, or actually and vaccinated. HIPAA laws don't know who's vaxxed, who's not. But let's run down this list of players. Alex Anderson.
By the way, before you go into that, Matt, get vaxxed, please.
Been there, done that. Yeah. Been there, done that one. Got my card and everything. Right. Alex Anderson, international. Emiliano Terzaghi, international. Zaka Moran, international. Hernan Gonzalez, international. Ivan Magalhaes, international. I think I'm forgetting somebody else off the top of my head now.
Calvo. Calvo didn't make it.
Oh, yeah. That's Esteban Calvo, international.
Yeah.
That's 6 guys. So even though not all of them are starters, all of those guys, when healthy and when not suspended for silly red cards, are locked on in the 18. So
5 of the 6. 5 of the 6.
Which one's not always in the 18?
Oh, I think you said the start 11. My fault.
Yeah.
I was going to go with Hernan, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hernan's always there.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, he's a reliable sub, right? Able to be a battering ram at the end of the game. More on that topic to come of a battering ram up front. So that's a third of our usual match day roster out right from the start. And most of those guys, pretty key players.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, because what you got your leading goal scorer, your defensive rock, your
second leading goal scorer.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
By the numbers.
You have your most capped right back at the moment.
Your defensive midfielder.
Reliables. Yeah. Some will argue our best midfielder. And your best hold-up striker.
Yeah, no big deal, right?
And no big deal. And also joining us late is Mr. Shanair. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, he
You
almost
haven't
didn't clear
missed much.
either.
It's just daddy life happening. So
Yeah, true. You haven't missed much. We're just talking about what players missed out on in Toronto. We already went through the list, so yeah.
Yeah, we figured you were in solidarity with all of our South Americans and Caribbean brothers. I'm sending this one out.
Yeah. Shanair, let me ask you, like, what was your thought when you saw like the lineup? Well, both of y'all can answer, but what was your thoughts when y'all saw the lineup and you saw like who was missing and who was replacing them? Like, what was your initial thought of the game?
My initial thought was, okay, there are probably some players missing because of the whole crossing the border situation. But with the players that were of the starting 11, why was there so much switch around? Was my question. Ani is a center back. Monty is a fullback. Why are both of them way out of position when Luke spent an entire season playing as striker? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It kind of threw me for a loop. I was looking at it like, okay, did Fatma mess up? Who messed up here? Because this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
To put your center back at striker and your fullback at center back and a guy who's basically a utility player, but who played an entire season at striker at fullback.
Yeah. Before we jump into that one, I just want to call out the announcer of this game. Oh, Darren Swatsky is without five or six players. Blah blah blah. This fool makes it sound like he just decided to leave them off the roster for this game. It's like, oh, just coach's decision. We're gonna leave. We're gonna leave the MVP out for this one. We're gonna leave our captain out for this one. We're gonna leave our destroyer center back who's played every minute he's eligible out for this one. That seems logical, right? There couldn't be any obvious reason why they might not all be there.
For me, it's like, I understand, okay, this is USL League One, but do your research. Do your research before you start spewing stuff out your mouth on national television. Just do your research before you start talking.
Yeah, that would help a lot of people, like Shannon, who's in a blender right now with this whole Messi and Ronaldo tweet.
They ever played each other?
No, I mean he's finding out right now they played each other. There's 1,000 retweets every time we tweet.
I don't know if there's any proof of that anywhere.
No, it's not. There's not 1,000 books and movies and YouTube clips on it. But he's finding it out. I think Darren maybe need to watch a couple of YouTube clips on figuring out who to put into his starting 11 when 6 players out. I mean, I get it. You got to play who you got available to you. And Matt, you were making a point before we started recording about how certain players were signed, like Ty. He was just signed to USL Academy product. We actually signed 2 players. But it also makes me wonder, one, what is happening in training that makes Darren feel comfortable playing certain players out of position? And 2, what is Darren's reluctancy of playing certain players in their natural position? I know that might be the same question, but in my head are 2 different things. But I'll let you guys answer.
It isn't exactly the same question. But so when you're saying reluctance to play certain players in their natural position, you're talking about Monty.
So not Monty is because I think like Monty, you can get away with playing him as center back if it's a back 3. But like Ani playing him as striker, I don't get that because every time you brought Ani on, excuse me, he's played center back. He's never went up top and did like that held up thing. And in the span of a shortened week, where you only get, the Tucson game was Saturday. I think the team gets Sunday off, so you get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 4 days of practice, and maybe this is something that we're working on beforehand, but you would think like if I'm working on it beforehand, I would at least give him real game time minutes to display that, okay, he's comfortable doing this, not, all right, you're going to start against Toronto in a game that's, I mean, that must win, but it's an important game, and I need you to play hold up, which isn't like just go out there and run around in circles, but it's actually like a real job that you got to do. And I just,
it felt to me like it felt to me like Darren was, thinking back to that Tormenta home game from last year when we were prepped ready for Tormenta, and what happens when we come out on that field? Big ass Josh Phelps, been a center back all year, lumbering up top, just throwing his body around against Yvonne and Ventnor, back there, and they stole the win out of that one because we know how the season ended last year. But
bad memories.
I feel like he was like, ooh, I remember that. Let's try our version of that. Let's put our battering ram up front and try to cause problems that way and surprise Toronto like that. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, but I think that works when you have players like Emmy or like you have key players around them. Tormenta didn't do that tactic, and Micheletto's like, "Hey guys, I'm watching the game from South Georgia because I can't come to the state of Virginia." Like,
maybe that's what we need to do. We need to get Northam and everybody to take one for the team and set up some wacky Virginia entry laws.
So now we're the country of Virginia. Gotcha. All right, we're going back to that now.
Hey,
whatever works. Whatever works, right? Get the kickers rolling.
So pretty much we're banning North Carolina and Chattanooga from ever coming to the state of Virginia again. Great.
Desperate times. Desperate times, man.
All right. I mean, let's make it a little bit more positive because I mean we know how this game ended. It ended 2-1. Monty had the own goal, which I'm not going back to watch that because I think it was one of those things where he didn't deliberately shoot in the zone net. And I always think of most own goals are you're trying too hard to solve a problem and then you just make things worse because nobody was around. What you was about to say, Sinead?
That's the problem. This situation was not on Monty. This was a situation of lack of communication. Yeah. Chrysler is close
nobody
enough.
Was around him, right?
Exactly. Chrysler is close enough to let Monty know that he has time.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he just fluffed it.
Huh?
Yeah.
I think he just fluffed the clearance.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He had time to take a touch. He was. I don't think there was anyone within 15 yards of him. The only person who was in 15 yards of him was Akira. And when that ball comes crossing in, I mean, we hear it. You hear it all the time. We hear it at the stadium. The words that are used: man, away, time. All of those are just one word. Literally, just one word.
Look at you using his soccer words.
Literally, just one word, time. And Monty knows that he can settle that ball and then clear it. Because if he tries to swing at that ball, he's not a center back. He's not used to being in that position where he has to do a one-time clearance. Fullbacks on rarer occasions than center backs do that. Center backs have more of the technical ability to do it because it's their bread and butter.
I mean, he's a professional soccer player, to defender. He should be able to clear a ball first time.
True, but there's a certain mindset that comes with being a fullback, the same way there's a certain mindset that comes with being a center back. And in that situation, a fellow center back, Chrysler, should be guiding him through that situation. Time. Let him know, take a touch, clear it.
Hey, you gonna stop blaming Chrysler, all right? He's a cool guy. He likes to tweet for this podcast, okay?
True, but hey, at the end of the day, Monty was left on his own.
No,
he was left out to dry. No one let him know that the closest attacking player was 20 yards from him.
Yeah. Let's look at this side of it. At least our own goals are spectacular looking own goals. Not like that Omaha own goal that we got that just kind of trickled across the line. Nobody really knew what happened. Ours are bangers of own goals.
You're right. Hey, yo, I will say this. If Richmond go do an own goal, they going to go all out. They going to give you 100% effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of the Scarves where you don't really know what happened. The ball barely trickles over the line. Nah. Sport, not top 10 all day.
Yeah. But yeah, for this goal, I'm not putting it on Monty. But for our goal, I'm going to go back to what you were talking about, Matt, about the whole Tormenta situation last season when they brought their giant of a center back up to play striker. Even if setting the joke aside, Darren is thinking of something of that sort, Ani doesn't even provide that. On our goal that we scored, on the penalty kick, on the foul, that's Ani running in behind to give a layoff pass to Neil, who gets fouled. And it's like, so he didn't even go in there doing what supposedly he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I'll give Ani this. Like, there were probably 3 or 4 occasions where he was actually able to like straight up post up, with the ball. And when he was able to get in that position, something good happened with it. Whether it was that pass to Neil for the penalty, there's another flick on near the box where he was able to kind of 1-2. I want to say it was Bolduc, but I don't totally remember who it was with. So in those very isolated circumstances when he could actually get the ball and be able to play that true back to goal classic center forward type role, it worked. It was just 99.9% of the time in that game, the ball was getting nowhere close to him to be able to let that work. And he didn't maybe have the familiarity to be in the right spot, especially on clearances and everything to facilitate that.
Yeah. True. And the other positive is Neil made his penalty. So Richmond's good at penalties this year. Yay. That's a positive because last year we were bad.
Yeah, sending Sil the wrong way too.
I think there's another what if moment in this game because right after Richmond scored the penalty, what was it, 5-ish so minutes? Neil had a direct header.
Mm-hmm. That was
and I just keep thinking about that moment in the entire game. If Neil scores that header, we're 2-1. And Darren's tactics, granted, they were negative. I wouldn't say negative because that's harsh. They were very defensive. Let's be real. But I also think that's because of who was on the field and what they were comfortable doing. It's very easy to set a team up and be like, all right, we're playing 4-4-2, low block, sit tight, make them. If they're gonna beat us, it's gonna be individual. And I just think if you're up 2-1, all the pressure's on Toronto at that point. Maybe we sneak out of there with a win, at least a draw. But Neil doesn't score it. The game's still 1-1, and that's really I can't. Did we have another chance after that?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
I couldn't think of one.
To be honest with you, the stats speak for themselves. I know a lot of people tend to say that possession is a crap stat, but not when it's 73-27. That screams you have absolutely no control over the game.
Yeah, but I mean, also, let me ask you this, Aaron. When you saw who was on that field, I mean, outside of maybe Neil, who's a creator, you know how Darren was going to set this team up. If you would have asked Darren, hey, Darren, are you going to play expansive with this team? Darren would have looked at you and told you no. You're going to sit back.
I don't need expansive,
play this counter.
But it's a lot easier for a team to keep possession, and they could even try to, in order to maybe burn time or kill the clock, keep possession in their own half when your 2 front players aren't extremely mobile. This is why not necessarily poophousery, but just cycling the ball back in order to try again. A lot of teams do that, and it's not poophousery. It's just literally just a situation where we're attacking from this side. All right, it's not working. Let's pull the ball back to our back line, maybe pull them out, and then we try again. So in that situation, there needs to be some challenge there. If they can constantly and consistently cycle that ball up and down the field, it's not working, let's try again. It's not working, let's try again. It's not working, let's try again. Then you literally allow them to completely take control of the tempo of the game and take complete control of the game, period. let's take a situation where we switch Ani and Luke. Is Luke having any of those center backs passing the ball back and forth? No, he's gonna bum rush them, and this is where from jump when I was talking about, yes, personnel was lacking in terms of who they were able to bring to Toronto, but of the people you had on the field, I don't feel that they were used correctly.
Let me ask you. Let me counter and ask you guys this. Let's say our first team guys are all there. Other than maybe let's say 5 to 10% difference on possession, do you really think it's going to be any different of a game plan?
Once again, no, probably not. And that's the sad thing,
right?
Like right now, at this very moment, because when you look at how Darren's playing, you can kind of get a feel of what, more or less, what you're going to get out of Richmond. You know how Darren's going to play. It's going to be sit back, defensive, clearing the counter, because most of the times it's not really. I mean, we know Darren. Like, he doesn't care about possession. He doesn't care about really holding on to the ball. It's being quick. It's being direct, and that's how he wanted to play. I think in this instance, Matt, me and you were talking about it before the show. Like, I would have loved, more or less, I would have loved to see. Not loved it, but I would have understood it more if Darren just went like 5-4-1, had Ani, Chrysler, Monty, Cole, Luke, as the back five, the four, Neil, Victor, I'm up against someone, Matty, and Bologna's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Matty, and then Stanley up top. I would have been fine with that.
Actually, I would have probably. I probably could have probably switched Stanley and Bolaños. You have that pace to maybe catch him on the counter.
Yeah, either or.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, either or. It doesn't really matter. But I mean, like, also, like, I think that's my biggest gripe right now with Darren is just how he sets the team up, and then also like just some substitutions. Because, like, a player like Sam Solomon, now granted, he just signed, but I imagine, like, in a game like this, you can use him. Put him out there. Hey, you sign him, use him.
Maybe you brought him.
Yeah, see what he can do. But, I mean, for the 69th minute, that goal, I think once again, I'm going to say it. If there's any moment that shows that Akira deserves Keeper of the Year, it's that moment. It's not the goal that he got scored on, because Akira's never saving that. I think it's just more so like the lead up to it, because the amount of saves he had leading up to that goal is absurd. Like, I think he had like 3 or 4 saves in a row, and then for him to still it's just the inability for the kickers to clear that ball out. Because it's like that moment where you're playing a rec soccer game, you can just tell, like, all right, we're about to get scored on. You can't clear this ball out. Everyone is like just dog tired. You can just tell.
I feel like we get that situation, once a game where Akira has to make a series of 2 or 3 saves in a row. I mean, this time, credit Toronto. It was a pretty goal that they scored. A lot of good footwork, and the shot was inch perfect. I mean, that's one where if Akira's 6'1", he probably is able to get a fingertip on it, but he put it just over top of Akira's reach. So sometimes it's a good goal, but I mean, all the lead up to it, being able to just effectively get the ball cleared out, being able to, I don't want to say slow the game down, because that's literally what the team was doing all game. We weren't playing fast by any means, but you get it under a little bit more of kicker's control.
Yeah, and Matt, back to your original question about like if we had our starters, does it make a difference in possession? No, but I think it puts a little bit more fear in Toronto, because granted, Darren's gonna play the way he plays. It's gonna be set back. But if you look at it, like if you have Emmy on the ball versus Ani, that's a lot different for Toronto Center. But like they're positioning themselves different, I imagine.
Yeah. So you're talking psychologically.
Yeah.
Psychologically for Toronto, they're looking at it like, oh, the only guy that scores for them isn't here. All right, we got this in the bag.
Or like Zonka's in the midfield. Like I imagine Zaka probably would have had Zaka would have taken out. Who was the one person for Toronto that was doing all the creating?
Yeah, Nelson.
Yeah, he would have took out Nelson. He would have took him out. I guarantee Zaka would have had a yellow card.
That's not really a big statement, but
yeah, no, he definitely would have had a Fernandinho game with Nelson. He would have definitely let Nelson know that he was there. He would have, shook him up a little bit. That maybe would have changed a lot of things. Just the psychological effect that players like Zaka and Emi have would make quite a big difference. However, I do feel that some of the players that we do have could have been utilized for that psychological effect a little bit better. For example, playing Bolaños in the middle of the field, in the middle of the park, is that a real good use of his skill sets? I feel that it would make Toronto do a lot more thinking and have to worry a lot more if he's constantly making runs and constantly. Yes, we have complained in the past about those games where literally all kickers do is hit those diagonal balls to Bolaños or Boldo. But at the end of the day, if that's what's going to keep the other team occupied defensively, that is a step in the right direction, rather than literally taking your fastest player on the field and getting him stuck in the midfield scrum.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. One other thing with especially Zaka and Emi, what we were missing from them was, I think, in those transition moments, those two guys know how to get fouled. They know how to use their body, to take a hit and to draw the foul when they need to. And I didn't necessarily see as much of that. That might be just kind of like a little bit more of a cultural Argentine thing. I don't think it's something that's as widely taught in the States, that youth levels of using your body to draw the ball intentionally.
Mentality. Like, you just know, like.
Yeah, but I mean, how many times a game do you see Emi get knocked over in our own half? Quite a few, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Zaka is good for a couple of those a game too, and that can help the team be able to clear lines, let Akira or Ivan or whoever get it restarted from there.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this, because not ragging on the team, but any moments of positivity out of this game? Like, did any player, did any player stand out to you in this game? For me, I put Stanley. Stanley and Neil definitely stood out to me in this game. Neil just more so like, you can see why Darren brought Neil in, because he's allowed space and the ability to go at players, he will go.
Mm-hmm.
So for y'all, anybody that stood out for y'all positive?
Shneur, you want to go first?
Yeah. I do feel that even though he was out of position, Pavone did some decent work out on the flanks. He definitely played a big part, especially supporting Matt going up that right side. He didn't really get too much involved with the attack, but he was there as support for Bolduc. He was an outlet in case Bolduc needed it. Victor had a decent game. He did his thing in the midfield, and Arnie had a very uncharacteristically good moments. There you go. So, for example, like I had said before, for the goal, I mean that run in behind to take that ball almost to the end line and knock it back to who was it? To Neil for the foul for the PK. There were moments. There were great moments with the Kickers players, but as a collective, in terms of a consistent performance, it just wasn't there.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to be a little bit different angle on positive takeaways. One, I think the most positive takeaway out of this game was Devontae DeBose, coming back. He's been out for well over a year. He got back, on the field for the first time since I think the second game of last season. Granted, second game of last season was in like July or something, but still, good to see him back. It gives us another option on the defensive line. There, and then seeing Ty Johnson, academy guy, going to be going to Carolina, to play soccer there. He got a good, probably 15, 20 minutes up front. Didn't get a ton of touches on the ball, but be able to see more guys get those kind of experiences, get that kind of exposure. I think that's a net positive for the team. So those are two different types of positives I took out.
Yeah, those are some good positives. Not really much else to. Oh, what you about to say, Shanair?
Yeah, I just was gonna ask. What is the deal with Devontae? He was on the roster. If he's healthy enough to be on the roster, someone of his skill sets, would you not try and give him 10, 15, maybe even 5 minutes just to start getting him back out there?
He did. He came on
They
the
did.
field.
That's what I just said. He got like 15 minutes at the end of the game.
Yeah. Did you miss that whole part?
I completely missed that. Because I thought I saw him I saw the headband, but then I was like,
yes, he got on the field near the end.
I thought I saw the headband, and then I turned around and I looked at
Shanae, did you turn this game off after we gave up the goal?
No. I saw the headband, and I was like,
he turned the game
that's
off.
Devontae, isn't it? And then I looked at FootMob, and there's no player rating beside his name. So I'm like, wait, so did you not get
don't rely on FootMob for player ratings? No.
Okay. Because I mean, to me, and so that to me, seeing Mumbai and DeBose out there, that's encouraging, because especially with the and we talked about it last week with the loss of Ian, I do feel that we need a little bit of injection into the fullback roles, and I think DeBose can provide that.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed he stays healthy, and that the recovery has not been rushed, hopefully. So yeah, I'm hoping that we're going to see more of those two. Yes, I would want to see some of the academy players, but I want to see some of those players that we were hopeful to see, but that injury hindered us seeing them.
I mean, I think the big question, we'll find out, come Saturday, of where he really is, on his progression of, does he make the 18 again once those other 6 guys are presumably back with the team.
Does who Devontae?
Yeah, Devontae, still making the 18, even with all the internationals coming back into selection. If he is, I think that's a great sign that he's ready to go and ready to contribute. I think I don't know either way, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a, hey, can you give us 15? Okay, great, we'll put you on the travel roster because we need bodies.
Yeah.
True, but I mean, at the end of the day, again, let's go back to what you said last week, Elliot. We aren't at the training sessions. We don't see what's going on. We know what we saw of Devontae before the injury. We know what he gave us in that preseason before COVID. But at this point right now, we don't know what he's giving in practice. We don't know what he's giving in training. And because he's recovering from an injury, there's that as a factor. So and this is something that I feel is a bit frustrating for us Kickers fans, is the lack of transparency, I would say. I'm sorry, I don't feel that keeping under wraps whether a player is healthy or not is of strategic importance. We would like to know if Devontae is doing well in practice. We would like to know if he's fully recovered. We would like to know if Mumbai is fully recovered. We would like to know how far along Ian is with his recovery.
So one thing we've learned in there, if you see him in the team photos, they're good. If you don't see him in the team photos, they're not there. We've learned.
I mean, I understand that they're in training, they're there, but there could be something. Who knows? Devontae may have lost half a step because of his injury. Mumbai may have lost half a step because of his injury, but they're still training, but they're not providing enough to allow Darren to trust them. Or, and we need to know that as fans, we need to know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a conversation we can have for another moment because we can have a whole separate debate about that. But,
we can have a whole episode about that.
Yeah. Moving on, Richmond come back home. We play on Saturday, 6:30 p.m. We play against Rev 2, one of the only teams right now we have a positive record against because we haven't lost a game against them yet. But
yeah,
how do you guys feel about this game? I think also, I don't know if they're gonna bring any MLS talent. I doubt it because they're on the road. And plus, your Rev Chanel are like top of the MLS standing, so congrats to you.
Yes.
But if you're Darren, how do you set this team up for success and to get things turned around for this team against Revs 2? Chanel, I don't need a long-winded answer. Please, for the love of God, I can't go.
Oh, I'm going to give you a short one.
Okay.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The last team that beat them, let's put that team out there to beat them again.
Oh, my God. What about you, Matt?
I think it's not that far from what he was saying. I think at home, it's a team that is shown to be, for whatever reason, leaky against us, but not too many other teams in the league. So I think you get Bolaños back out, on the wing because he was tearing him up out there. You put Bolda, Anderson, whoever you want on the other wing. You get Emmy right up there. I think you go with a more aggressive lineup this time around. Hopefully we can get the for lack of a better way, put it classic back four in there for this year and let them do their thing. What I'm hoping is that the guys who weren't able to play last week are coming out hungry this week and ready to make an impact right away. The rest have got a lot better though since we last played them. They've run off a bunch of wins. Good friend Joe Rice is balling out for them when he actually gets to play in goal. We actually haven't seen him against the Kickers yet since he left.
Watch him not play again.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
5 wins and 4 losses since we last played them, and that lineup that was against the Reds when we played them back on June 5th, it seemed like a long time ago. Kieran, Gold, Calvo, Chrysler, Magales, Monty. That was your back four. Zaka and Victor was like the double pivot. Bodo, Neil, Bolaños, and Chizagi up top.
Yeah, I'm cool with that group.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, the only difference between that group and the group that shut them out 3-0 earlier on in the season is Calvo for Ian and Neil for Gonzalez. And a slight shift in the formation, but other than that, the personnel is all the same. And I mean, of course, Calvo for Neil, for Ian, that makes sense. Ian's injured, and I think we had seen a lot more productivity from Emmy up top rather than in the midfield. So Neil steps in and Emmy pushes up.
Yeah, and just real quick to give you our record since that June 5th meeting, we have 2 wins, we have 4 draws, and 3 losses over that stretch.
Cool.
So, one last thing. Well, not one last thing. I want to ask you guys, but I want to ask you guys this. So, Darren's home record, the team's home record, because Darren's part of the team, is pretty positive. 4 wins, 3 draws, 1 loss. Let's put it fourth at the table. But his away record is 1 win, two draws, 5 losses. We haven't won a game in our last 7 away games. We haven't won since the opening game of the season, where we were all like, "Oh, this team is about to be really good." Real quick, Shanair, once again, I don't need like a 10-minute answer. I love you, but I don't need 10 minutes. What is this team issue on the road? And how can Darren possibly solve it? Because my mid-season hot pick kind of rides on this.
You want to restate that hot take for the people?
Oh, God, yeah. So that hot take was that Darren will flip his away record. So at that moment, it was 1 win, 2 draws, 4 losses. I said he would go 4 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. In the first away game, we lose, so now he has to win 4 and draw 2. Yay.
Apart from not winning, we tend to be a lot more leaky at the back away from home for some reason.
You're not wrong in that because we gave it up 14 goals on the road. So you're not wrong in that.
Yeah, giving up a lot more goals on the road.
Versus home, we've only given up 7. So yeah.
Half. Yeah. A part of me wishes I could say, oh, it's the Red Army and that 12th man that gives them that push. But to be honest with you, it's really hard to pinpoint what it is away that causes that disorganization. One element that could be a factor is we tend to have those away games where we really do get pummeled, i.e. the 4-0 drubbing from North Carolina.
We don't talk about that game here.
That game doesn't exist.
That game doesn't exist? Okay. I do feel that I don't know if it's just me, but it feels like our back line tends to be a little more rattled away from home in some of those games. They tend to be a little more jumpy and frantic and tend to make more mistakes. That could be a factor because if you look at the goals that we are scoring, is not too much of a difference. We're scoring almost the same amount of goals away as we are at home. It's what we're letting in. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah, but I don't have all the stats right in front of me. I have a pretty strong suspicion though that again going back to the possession stats, if you look at the possession numbers, they are much more not in our favor when we're away. I feel like the team goes out with that kind of purposeful play in a shell mentality. On the road, and at home they're a little bit more on the front foot, which is natural to a certain degree in soccer. I mean, most teams are usually more aggressive when they're at home and have better records at home. But it's a pretty stark contrast.
Do you feel that it's more drastic with the kickers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like even the Omaha game where Omaha objectively is a better team than the Kickers, right? And they controlled most of the game up until the point where they scored, and then we got the goal back, and it's a little more evenly matched after that point. But then you think about the Chattanooga game away where we actually went ahead because Olix just was faster than everybody else, but that game was ugly to watch. We think back, most of this last game, bunkered in for a lot of times. Yeah, there might have been a little bit of extenuating circumstances, but what we saw on Saturday, I think, speaks more to a pattern of what we tend to see on the road, New England notwithstanding.
So you just gave me homework to do, man. I just want you to know that, and I hate you for it now.
I didn't tell you to do anything. I know how much you love doing math, so.
God dang it, I hate my life. That's what I said.
Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to.
Yeah, this is awesome because now I'm going to be thinking about this. Like, what is our possession on this and that? And,
like I said, I could be totally wrong on this too, but
no, because I
looked
looked at a couple of games.
No, that tends
you're
to
not
be
wrong.
the pattern. That tends to be
because
the
I
pattern.
looked at a couple of games so far, like Union Omaha, where there was a draw, we led possession. Greenville, we led a possession. Then I looked at a couple of road games. Or a lot of the first game, it was 60-40. Chattanooga was 65-35. So you're not wrong. Like, we're not. You're kind of right.
Well, I think, like you said, it's natural for teams to do that. It's natural for teams to be a little more defensive when they're away from home. But a lot of times, it kind of baffles me that it's natural that way, because when you look at the track record, at the history, in terms of in all leagues, the time where there's an upset away from home is when the away team takes it to the home team. I mean, it's you can look at a lot of examples. Some fairly recent examples. Look at the 2 seasons ago, Leicester Southampton. That was at Southampton Stadium, and they got battered 9-0.
We are going to put you on a 3 maximum Premier League analogy. We are going to challenge you to find something else.
That was my only one today. That was my only one.
No,
today.
it's not. You had Fernandinho, and you had another one. I can't remember.
Oh, I did have Fernandinho.
Yeah, Shanair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
3 max. That's it.
3 max. Okay. All right. But I'm still going to use this one.
That's not from a country that can't even win their own trophies. We're playing in America where we won 2, trophies in the summer.
Against our rivals too, both times.
England don't win shit, so we don't need to talk about that country.
This is also true. Yeah, guys. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at a situation where it's very conservative, and sometimes when you're too conservative, you stay middle of the road. And if you look at the table, where are we? Middle of the road. Sometimes you got to take a risk, and I feel that this is that situation. We've reached that point in the season where it's all or nothing. We need to start taking risks in order to get into that playoff position talk. I know we're just 2 points off of, playoff spots, but at the rate we're going, we're not going to break that line if we try and stay conservative. If we try and just play our cards right, we need to take a risk. We need to throw caution to the wind, at least in a game or two, and see what we can get out of that. Because if we don't, we're literally going to sit in 7th, 8th for the rest of the season.
I thought taking a risk and going for the win every game is Darren's style.
Okay.
Huzzah! Then look, this month is going to be interesting because the next 3 games is, of course, Revs, and then you on the road against Greenville, a game I feel like we can take points off Greenville.
Greenville might be in worse shape than we are right now.
Yeah.
The one that bothers me is the last one though. North Carolina on the 28th. They seem to be our bogey team.
That's the one that's the one I want the players just to be like, yo, we are winning this game. Like, I don't give a damn. Win that one. Like,
that's the game.
You can't get swept by North Carolina. That's it.
No, and that's the game you run up the scoreboard if you can.
Hopefully,
because
I'll take 1-0 on them at this point. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Of course, I'll take any win is a win. 3 points is 3 points. But I mean, in terms of psychologically, that is the kicker's opportunity to show that lightning struck twice on a fluke with North Carolina. Can you show us that? Or does North Carolina have our number? That's up to the kickers to show us. Because they're dead last in the league.
Hey,
They're dead last in the league, and we've given them their only 2 wins.
So.
They exactly. We give them 2 of their 3 wins, and I don't know. I think this is the Kickers' opportunity to prove to us that those 2 losses to them were flukes.
Well, I mean, also credit to North Carolina. They've gotten healthier, but it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah. Anything else from you guys before we wrap up this week's episode?
I think I welcome everybody to join me on the Omaha and Chattanooga bandwagon. I think if we're at the point of starting to look at the table more closely after every game, realistically, Omaha and Chattanooga are pulling away. Probably not going to catch them. So let's let them win every non-Richmond game available, and take the points off everyone else, because every other team is alternating results right now, just like we are. So it's not a matter of we're getting buried or we're resurgent after one win. It's a big old mess on this table. So if we can have a couple other teams help to clear out some of the rest of the mess, I'm okay with it. So go those guys. And
they're the only 2 teams with 1 loss each. I mean, everyone else has a fairly balanced record.
Yeah, I mean they draw a ton, but they also have a couple games in hand. So while they look close to the rest of the group in the standings, realistically they can cash in those couple games in hand. They've extended out quite a bit.
To be honest with you, I think Greenville and New England are the only ones realistically that would be able to catch them, because they're more close to them in the amount of games played. When you look,
have you watched Greenville, sir?
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying it just in terms mathematically, because if you look at, for example, South Georgia, they're fairly close in points right now, but they have 4 games in hand. Like it's 4 games in hand, 3 games in hand with Toronto. So the table can be deceiving people. If you look at the games played, you can really see that Union and Red Wolves are literally they're pulling away from the pack. They really are.
Yeah. So, but first step, Saturday, go for 3 in a row against New England. One step at a time.
Sweep them.
One step at a time, All right. Well, that's everything from us, guys. We will holler at you guys next week. Shows are on Mondays now, so look out for them. What's up?
I was gonna say, everybody show up on Saturday. Nobody likes people from Massachusetts.
Yeah, exactly.
Done deal.
Hey, I'm from Massachusetts.
What? This has never come up before.
That's why I'm a New England Revolution fan.
This is called sarcasm, son. It may have come up a couple times on this podcast.
Oh yeah,
definitely in the show alone. What? Come on, Shanir. God, your internet not that bad, and you cannot get it together. As always, folks, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube at Rivercity93 and on Facebook. Trust me, we're going to put a lot more content on the Facebook page, but life is busy. We're getting around to it. As always, like, share, and subscribe. Leave us a review. 5-star review helps us out. And as always, guys, from the coast of Rivercity93, we will holler at you guys later. Up the Roos. That's all we got to